So, welcome to another one of my videos. Today we're going to open up this Arcade1up Centipede partycade 8-in-1. I'm really interested in seeing, I really like the design that they use, and I want to build myself some tabletop games with custom, either with real boards or whatever, and I'm interested in the design of the package. And this was interesting because it looked like it was a stand-up, wall-mounted, whatever. And I also thought it'd be interesting because this has a lot of games that I actually have in real life. It's got Centipede, Millipede, Crystal Castles, Missile Command. I don't remember what else. And I actually have those stand-up games. So I thought it'd be a fun thing to review, to see how they compare to the real ones. I was really surprised. This thing, I thought it would be smaller and lighter. And that's one of the reasons I actually did like, because it has a 17-inch monitor, which is actually... A 17-inch LCD, I think, is going to be equivalent in size about to a 19-inch CRT, if not actually have a little bit of a larger viewing space. So I actually did go back and look and measure with a tape measure, and the Arcade1up visible display area on Centipede is 17 inches, and the actual CRT, in my 19-inch CRT, the visible range is about probably a little more than 15 inches when you take off the fact that it doesn't actually fill the whole screen. There is that's a little bit probably less than it really is because I'm measuring from the bezel rather than the actual curve of the monitor, but it's probably actually a little less. It's probably a little less than the Arcade1up by maybe a half an inch to an inch. So it'll be very interesting to see. I also love these games, so I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt to have one. And if it ends up being really good controls and things, then, you know, yay for me. I also got cheap on HSN because I had coupons and stuff. And I waited for the price to go down, so let's go ahead and open this thing up. This is really a lot bigger, or a lot heavier than I thought it would be. Box says it's... The box says it had its weight on there. 32 pounds. It is a lot heavier than I thought it would be. Okay, so we have, this looks like the wall mounting kits here. So we got this here. Hopefully it won't break it. We got some metal parts. Lots of metal parts. I think this, I'm pretty sure this is the wall mounting kit. Oh wow. Yeah, this thing is bigger than it looks. Look at this. Yeah, I really like their design though. I have to say, I like the way they design their games with the artwork and the effective use of space that they have. I mean, I've seen people make bar top games, but they all look like crap. But this looks neat. All right, so it comes basically pre-assembled. You got this thing here, we'll strip that off. And it is significantly larger, as you can see from the Dig Dug countertop. In fact, I would dare say this is not really a countertop. It is way too big to be a countertop. Maybe if I put it right in the wall, this is actually, I might have to literally make it a wall mount, which would be interesting. I've never actually had a wall mount arcade game. I mess with Megatouch units, and you can see I have a Megatouch there in the corner. They have wall mount versions of those, which I always thought was interesting when I first saw them. I never knew they had them until I went to a diner one day, and I'm like, whoa, this Megatouch is mounted to the wall, what the heck? And then I found out they made them, they were called Wallettes, I believe. So, as with everything, you know, their artwork does not disappoint. It's pretty. It's a pretty unit. It is huge. This is a lot bigger than I thought. So what does this game have? It says Centipede, Millipede, I have that. Both of those. Crystal Castles, have that. Missile Command, I have that. I don't know how you're going to play Missile Command on a vertical monitor, but well, whatever. We'll figure it out. So, yeah. That's big. That's big. I don't think that can get on the... I don't think that can actually exist on the desktop or on the counter. That will have to be on the wall. What I really want to do one day is, I just sold my tapper. I have a real tapper. I had a real tapper. But prices are getting ridiculous for these games. and you know, like I never play it. People are willing to pay a lot of money for it, so I sold my tapper. I want to build a tabletop tapper, and I know that what is it called? EscapePod.online makes a tapper kit, art kit for these. They're actually more, probably just as expensive as the game, which is ridiculous. But if I can get another sheet, I actually want to CNC route one of these cabinets and make my own game. And I actually have a tapper board set somewhere. I don't think I would be able to fit in a game of this size, but I want to build a tapper. Maybe put a Raspberry Pi or a small computer in it. So up close, and I still have the artwork or the protective cover on it. Does this light up? I hope it lights up. I don't think it does, but I hope it lights up. I like the light up marquees. But let's go look at the. So I have a real Crystal Castles here. And I have a real Centipede here. This is one game. This will be, if I don't plan to ever sell this. As I mentioned, I sold my tapper, and I'm selling off a bunch of my games, but I don't think I'll ever sell that. This game and Pengo, I don't think I'll ever sell. Missile Command, I also have Missile Command. I'm actually probably going to sell that soon. Anyway, let's take this thing off and just power it up and see what the screen looks like. Don't have a screw here. It is interesting just going behind it. I noticed that they put, this is smart move. Put the these, so if you're going to do it a wall mount, they put those little plastic or rubber things there so it doesn't bounce around. That's a really smart move. I really am impressed how when Arcade1up came out, their stuff was really crappy, in my opinion. But I really like I like how they fixed their mistakes, and I hope to see them make more games. I know that's blasphemy in the arcade collecting community, but I also don't care. You know, I think it's cool. And if the games get better and more like the real ones, more power to us all. I'm hoping to get rid of a bunch of my dedicated games. If they had, I wouldn't mind replacing my games with Arcade1ups, honestly. Again, I'm going to be ostracized from the arcade collecting community, but screw them. I really like I like the small size, but yet you know, you have this huge monitor, this is probably as big as my Centipede CRT, if not bigger. So the bezel looks really nice. Looks, you know, basically the same as my Centipede bezel would. Actually, does it? Let's go and look. Basic stuff at the bottom. The sides, actually, the artwork is a little different. The gradient pattern's different, and then the real Centipede has the guys at the top. Control panel. We got our Atari style 1 and 2 player people with our volcano buttons, and you can see how the layout is there. Not exactly the same. They reversed the side of the 1 player, 2 player start. I don't know why they did that. That's kind of odd. I mean, I don't expect it to be exactly the same, but you'd think they would stick as much as possible to the original, because they seem to be, that's one of the things that's really neat. But I think it looks good. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't matter whether it's right or left. That's interesting. Probably maybe because they wanted to put the volume buttons there. I would have put the volume buttons there and on or off just to keep it as original as possible. But it looks good, right? It looks good. And I still have the protective wrap on here. I do want to know how they plan on doing missile command. Oh, third button for missile command. Okay. So I didn't even see that red button there. All right. But, you know, attractive. Marquee looks very nice. I hope it lights up. I can't remember if these ones light up or not. I don't think they do. And the side art. You know, you got that's a nice repro. You know, it fits. I think it's, you know, obviously it's not the same. You don't have the same surface area here. But I think it's keeping with the design and the spirit of the original game. It looks, I mean, this is really neat. I like it. I think they've done a good job there. They didn't have a lot of space to work with, and they still managed to put the Centipede guy on there, and then, you know, the original, the logo or the font of the Centipede game. That's cool. So let's power it up. I went ahead and mounted it to the wall. One thing you'll see that I don't like is this is at its highest position, and it's still way too low for an adult human. Again, it looks like it was designed for a kid, because a kid would be at that height, but no kid, well, I can't imagine that these games are actually being played by kids. Maybe a few, but this is focusing on the adults. Anyway, unfortunately, you missed my initial surprise. I filmed this before, and I must not have turned on the play button or the record button. When I turned it on, I was like, wow, this screen is really sharp. Very bright, very good contrast. And that is in contrast to, for example, the Mortal Kombat Arcade1up, which I have in there, that I reviewed a few years ago. One of the original, Arcade1ups, which had a horrible screen. And that's in contrast to, I had the HSN, or I had the little Pac-Man one, which is like a few inches smaller than this. And the screen, it had the same size screen, and the backlight was so washed out, or was so bright, it actually flooded. You couldn't see the game. I actually gave that my Pac-Man away for two cases of beer in a trade. This monitor is beautiful. Not too much. There's no backlight's not too strong. It's perfect. Really bright and very good contrast, which I was happy about. One of the things I noticed, trackball is not as cheap as I would expect it. I thought it was going to be less quality. You can hear it. And it's got goop on it, which is kind of weird. You can hear it kind of, why is that goop on it? I don't know. It's got some sticky stuff here. I gotta get that off. You can hear the rollers. It sounds like a trackball from an arcade game that had been abused. In the arcades, the rollers are loud, and it doesn't run as smooth as a normal trackball, but it is smaller. It has less weight, so you're gonna have less inertia when you roll. I played Centipede real quick. And I like it. It does have the blocky text of an LCD, but the screen is black the way it should be. The colors are bright, they pop. But yeah, it's real black and good colors. I wish they had the option to turn on scan lines on this, because it would, again, like they did with the Star Wars. But it actually it feels good. Playing doesn't feel wrong. I will probably at some point play a game of this and then play it on my actual Centipede cabinet and see how it feels. The trackball feels pretty good. Now I did notice on Crystal Castles when I played it, I don't get the same range of motion, or the same basically inertia when you track. Well, I'll explain it when I play Crystal Castles. But the Centipede seems pretty good. It seems to play. Centipede's one of my favorite games. It feels right. It doesn't feel anything off. Feels right. I can control it nicely with my fingertips or my palms, the way I like to do it, Centipede. Again, I wish there was a little more weight to the trackball and probably a little better rollers to make it a little smooth, a little more easy to do fine adjustments with my fingertips. But it's fine. It's so far it seems to play good. But I am very happy with the screen. The one thing I don't like is that the volume, to me, it doesn't go loud enough, which is odd because when I play a game like, I'll show you in a second, Super Breakout is way too loud. So they should have normalized that between the sound the games. They should have normalized the sound so they're in the same range. This is really loud in comparison. That's good. Yeah, that's really loud in comparison to the Centipede. And in a game where you have 8 games in one, you want to make sure they're normalized to the same range. This is too loud. But I'm excited because I like Breakout. Actually, one of the things I do want to build besides my tapper is I want a Arkanoid in this kind of form. Arkanoid 2 specifically. Revenge of Doom. Try Missile Command. Now, Missile Command, I'm going to tell you right now, it actually looks pretty good, but you're losing a bunch of the screen. This is why I I hate games that are not played in their correct rotation or their correct aspect ratio. That's not what I'm trying to say. Missile Command is a horizontal game. It should be in a horizontal cabinet. I don't know why you'd stick this in a vertical cabinet. I mean, it's fine, but you're losing, you know, a third of your screen to letterboxing, basically. Now, this does not feel as right as the Missile Command. The Missile Command has a 3-inch trackball normally, at least in the regular game. And your movements are really fine with the 3-inch trackball. Here, they're choppy. It's hard to get the fine control that you're. So I'm not a very good Missile Command player. I imagine this would hurt me if I was actually playing a real game, you know, trying to play competitively Missile Command, because with the 3-inch trackball, I'll show you when we play this, you get a lot of real fine control, and you can just spin that trackball and it just goes. Here, the Centipede actually seems to be fine. It seems to feel the same range of motion as the Centipede. The Missile Command does not. But it looks good. It looks like Missile Command does, except for, again, the scan lines. Crystal Castles. We're going to see the same range of motion issue. But I'm excited because I'm selling my Crystal Castles, and I would still like to play every once in a while, so this is neat that I can do that. Now, with Crystal Castles, one of the things I was always able to do is go and... Actually, we're going to go through this board. It is a little hard to get the control. Again, Crystal Castles is another game with a 3-inch trackball normally in the arcades, at least for the standard version. I don't know about the cocktail version. So it's hard to get that fine control that I like to play Crystal Castles with my fingertips. But one of the things I like to do with Crystal Castles is I should be able to easily jump across all the trees with one motion, and I cannot do it with this trackball. In fact, if I remember correctly, I can do this and get all the way around. I have to try it. Let's try it. But you know, it's Crystal Castles. My only complaint here is a trackball. I'm excited that I will actually be able to still play Crystal Castles. I mean, I used to play Crystal Castles on an Atari or an Apple IIe with a joystick. Not even I use a joystick. So this is nice now that I'm selling my Crystal Castles. Let's go ahead and turn Crystal Castles on. The real arcade game. Okay. Now you get real fine. Can you see that? Let's take it back a bit. You get real fine control with this 3-inch heavy trackball. I just use my fingertips, and it's beautiful. Actually, now playing this, the Arcade1up trackball doesn't quite do it justice at all. It's actually pretty bad. Now I don't want to sell my Crystal Castles, but yeah, I can do this. Get all the way over the trees, no problem. I cannot do that on the Arcade1up. I don't know if they should give you an adjustment to change the sensitivity of the trackball. I don't know if it's because this is a 3-inch trackball. It's bigger and has more weight, but it just doesn't feel the same. But besides that, the game is Crystal Castles, and it's fun. If you just want to play a game of Crystal Castles now and then, I think the Arcade1up is perfectly fine. Oh, no, I don't really. I'm selling my Crystal Castles, and I really don't want to, because this is a fun game. Missile Command does not have a 3-inch trackball. It has a 4-inch trackball. Very heavy, very, real easy to do fine moves. I mean, you could just use a finger for this game. You can't do that with the. It rolls smooth. And if I move it, look at how fast it goes across the screen. It flies across the screen. You do not get that with the Arcade1up one. In fact, let's try that again. Let's just instantly to the other side. And check out Missile Command. And you're going to see I do not get that range of motion, or I do not get that quick response. I had to try the Centipede too. Centipede didn't feel off. I play Centipede all the time. And Centipede didn't actually feel too bad. It felt good for the most part. This Missile Command, I don't know, this would be hard to play besides just casually, because again, let's do it. You saw how fast I went from one corner to another, and then you try that here. And now you got to really move. I cannot get the fine-grained movements with my finger, but when I did the Missile Command trackball, it was instantly across the screen. So that's going to be a problem, because in Missile Command, as you get higher, you really have to fly across the screen. At least I do. I don't know. I'm not a really good Missile Command player. I can't get very high. I don't remember what level I can get to. But that would be problematic if you're buying this game for Missile Command. Maybe don't. If you're buying this game for Centipede and just you want to play Missile Command now and then, yeah, maybe. Again, because you have the left screen, and the trackball is a huge part of Missile Command. This looks like a 1.5 inch trackball compared to the 4-inch trackball that is huge, heavy. This doesn't quite do it justice. Besides that, the game looks the same. Missile Command does not have amazing graphics. It actually uses a frame buffer. And the Arcade1up CPU can do that no problem. It looks the same. It's the same game logic, but the control is problematic. Same thing with Crystal Castles. The control, this trackball, is going to be a limiting factor. Now, I don't know. I've never played Crystal Castles in the cocktail version, which I think has a smaller trackball. I could be wrong. I don't know how it's going to stand up. I do remember. I can say that Centipede felt much closer to but Centipede, the stand-up, has a much smaller trackball than Crystal Castles or especially Missile Command. So maybe that was the difference in the stand-up. The physics of the trackball, weight and size, are closer probably to the real one. So anyway, that's enough for now. So I got this cheap. This was like $140. Would I recommend it to people? Yeah. I mean, it's nice. If you are a hardcore Missile Command player or a Crystal Castles player, maybe not, because I think the trackball is going to be a limiting factor. But if you like Centipede, I play Centipede all the time, and I have no problems with this one. Seems good. And if you just want to casually play some of the other games, sure. It's very pretty. The screen is very nice. Sound is a little bit of an issue. Some games are not, like Centipede is not as loud as it should be, in my opinion. I like to take it up louder, but at the same time, some games like Super Breakout are way too loud. So I think they should have normalized the sound range there. It would have been nice if they had a light-up marquee too. And maybe if we could make these door mounts they could have put them up a little higher. That would have been nice, because this is at its highest position and it's too low for me. If I'm sitting down, that might be fine. But anyway, bringing back the 80s to people affordably and fun, casual. Not everyone has the actual arcade games. It's a pain to have. They take up a lot of room. Now they're expensive. I got all these back when no one cared about arcade games. I don't think most of my games I paid less than $100 for. They were usually in bad shape, but and then I restored them. But that was also 20-some years ago. I started in 1997. Well, I started heavily in 2001, and I got most of my games back in that time frame when no one was doing this. But even me, I'm getting rid of them. I'm selling most of my games, and where I can, I'll probably replace them with Arcade1ups. So, all in all, it's a pretty decent machine. Centipede seems pretty good. There are some issues with, if you're hardcore into some of the other games like Missile Command or Crystal Castles, I don't think you're going to be happy with it. But if you just play casually, I think it's fine, and it's certainly fine for just fun and keeping the arcade spirit alive. Anyway, here's the pros and the cons. Pros. Huge bright screen. Really love the screen. Big 17-inch screen and that little tiny cabinet. Well, it's not really little tiny, but compared to an arcade machine, it's really tiny. And they made some, great improvements over their original screens on games like Mortal Kombat and their first series games.
It is much lighter and smaller than the real arcade, which is nice for practical use, unless you just have a warehouse, space. It's practical for your basement or your man cave or whatever. It doesn't take up too much space. It's not huge. I'm getting old now. When I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I didn't mind moving around these 300, 400 pound cabinets. Now it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I enjoy the smaller, lighter arcades. It's funny, when I was younger, I did not like the smaller, like cabarets. Now I do. Just attractive design, very pretty, very well done artwork. Emulation plays well. I didn't go into horrible depth, but if it's MAME, I played MAME all these games, and MAME plays fine. And I played Centipede, and it didn't seem to have any problems. So emulation, I like emulation. Sure, the real boards are great, but I think for the most part, 99% emulation is perfectly great. In fact, it is great because you can play a lot of games in one cabinet. Multiple mount options was really nice. The desktop option, or the countertop, which I think is actually too big. I don't think it actually practically could be a countertop, just too big. But that's not a complaint, actually. But the wall mount is really nice, and the door mount is a nice feature. I think I actually might wall mount it if I keep it. And it's much more practical than having 8 real arcade games in terms of cost, space, and just ease of installation, as I mentioned. Now the cons, and I highlighted the ones that I think are really important. Trackball versus a real arcade is not good. Centipede, it didn't seem to bother me so much, and maybe that is because Centipede normally is significantly smaller than Crystal Castles, and definitely tiny compared to Missile Command. So there's less difference between the Arcade1up one and the regular arcade Centipede trackball. But it did really impact Missile Commands. Definitely, it was hugely impact. And Crystal Castles, I don't think I could play with. Maybe I'll get used to it, but it was harder to play, a lot harder to play on that trackball than the real trackball, which is very easy to move, fine controls, and the inertia once you get it spinning is really nice. But I think that's going to be the big impact for most people. Horizontal games, I hate when they put horizontal games in a vertical cabinet, because the orientation is wrong, and so you end up letterboxing one way or the other, and you lose 30% of your screen real estate. No light-up marquee, not a huge deal, but it would have been nice. I don't know why some games the original games, they didn't have a marquee, and I think a lot of people complained and made third-party solutions for that, and then they started putting their light-up marquees in games, and I think that they have them in some of the countercades. I wish they would have some consistency with that, but not a huge deal. Volume range too low on some games, not normalized. That is just, when you're doing the research, it would have been nice if someone actually sat down and played these games and said, hey, when I switch to this game, it's really loud. When I switch to this game, it's really soft. And, Centipede was just like too low, whatever. No scan lines, not a huge deal. A lot of people are used to LCDs by now. I grew up in the 80s, and that's a huge thing for me, is the CRT look and feel. The scan lines and the which actually make the resolution, it's kind of like a natural anti-aliasing, and it makes it has a glow to it, which is nice. Now, that's a CRT glow, not the scan line glow, but whatever. It's the 2000s, and CRTs aren't really made anymore, so. Door mounting, highest setting is still too low, not a big deal, but I wonder when they were, field testing this or whatever, they actually tried to put it on a normal sized door with a normal sized adult, and they go, hey, that's way too low. All in all, though, for 140 to 180 bucks, it's a nice solution. That said, if you are really into one of these games like Centipede, Missile Command, Crystal Castles, and you want to play competitively, like the King of Kong movie or whatever, this may not be for you. But if you just want to have fun and enjoy some memories and have fun with some family and friends, it's it's a pretty nice cabinet, big monitor, plays the games, and it's fun. For 150 bucks, it's a good deal.